Howdy folks, we're back on the Mack. This is part 2 of the repairs on this 1977 R Model Mack. In this episode we're going to install some new batteries and make up some new battery cables. Then if we have time we'll check out the overheating issue, and there's a tail light that doesn't work, and hopefully we get the parts to finish up replacing the hub. Alright folks, tell me if this sounds familiar. 12 days ago I ordered a new dedicated battery terminal crimper. I wanted one that would do both these heavy battery lugs and the lighter, thinner, tapered battery terminals all in one tool. So I picked one that was in stock. It was supposed to be delivered within 3 days. They finally emailed me back this morning and said, just kidding, it's actually back ordered, and if you're lucky it might ship out sometime next week. 5 days ago I tried to buy one of these inner bud nuts so we could finish up that hub replacement. They didn't have it in stock. I had to order it. It was supposed to be here in 2 days. This morning they called me and said, if you're lucky, you might get it sometime tomorrow. 3 days ago I tried to buy 4 Group 31 stud top batteries. I'm an AC Delco battery dealer. I called my distributor. He said, let me check. I don't know if we have 4 of them in stock. Turns out they didn't have any of them in stock. They didn't have any in AC Delco, Motorcraft, or Deca. They had 0 Group 31 stud top batteries in their entire distribution network, which is pretty extensive. So I was able to get these. These are just cheapo fleet batteries from my international dealership, and they'll work, but these aren't very good batteries. They only have a 1-year warranty. But it's better than nothing. And that's what I've been dealing with. So that's basically a roadblock at every turn in this project. And it's been that way on every project I've worked on recently. So I'll give you some more examples. I have kind of a fleet contract with a welding company. I work on their company trucks, and I also service their portable welders. They brought me an older model, Ranger 250, and one of the lugs was broken off for the negative cable here. I tried to call my local welding supply store. I gave them the Lincoln part number. They had no idea what to do with it. They had no idea how to order the part. The manager was supposed to call me back. That never happened. So I finally gave up and I ordered them from a website called Weld Fabulous. I guess they're in Minnesota. They had the part. It was supposed to be in stock. This is it right here. It's a Lenco part. And I also ordered while I was there a part for my Miller-Matic MIG welder. And then a week passed and I didn't get the parts. Tried to call them, nobody answers the phone. I finally emailed them. They emailed me back and said that the part from Miller was on back order and they were going to hold the order until the Miller part came in and then ship the whole thing together. And I said, that's ridiculous. Why don't you ship the parts that are in stock? Anyway, long story short, the part from Miller shipped direct from Miller and actually arrived before the part that was in stock at the supplier. So that was a complete waste of everybody's time. Then over here, this is a power steering pump off of an international truck, a 2003 with a DT466E engine. It's like the most common model and the most common engine that they made. 17-year-old truck. International says this power steering pump is not available. It's obsolete in their network. There's nothing they can do about it. So I finally found one aftermarket, but it just blew me away that they couldn't get that. Yeah. So I don't know what we're supposed to do, how we're supposed to keep things moving around here. I'm as busy as I've ever been, but my productivity is so low. I can't get parts. I can't get people to call me back. I can't get people to take my money for parts that are in stock. It's just, yeah, it's very frustrating. I'm assuming everybody's going through roughly the same thing. So, yeah, I don't know what we're supposed to do. I've tried shopping local. I've tried shopping online. I don't think there's any way to improve on it. Anyway, enough whining, let's get back to work. All right, currently this truck is set up for 4 6-volt batteries. There's a pair on the left side hooked up in series to give 12 volts, and a pair on the right side hooked up in series to give 12 volts, and then both pairs are hooked up in parallel at the starter. It's a 12 volt system. There's no series parallel switch. It's not a 24 volt starter. It's a regular 12 volt system. It just happens to use 6 volt batteries. And that's because 45 years ago when this truck was built, 6 volt batteries had a lot more reserve cranking power. Is that the right word? Amps? Something. They could crank longer for the same size battery. But 12 volt batteries have come a long way. So we're going to switch it over to 4 12 volt batteries in parallel. We're going to use stud top group 31 batteries. That's the standard setup for any kind of big truck built in the last, let's say, 30 years. I made a whole video about this crimper. It's hydraulic. I bought it from Northern Tool. When I bought it, I believe the price was $30. I'm pretty sure they still sell this same model for the same price. It's not great. You kind of get what you pay for. No surprise. But if you work with it a little bit, you can figure out how to make a pretty decent crimp. So what I've found works pretty well is you select a die that's a little smaller than what you would think. And you don't crimp it too far. I crimped that one a little bit too far. See how it's almost sharp on the edges? It'll be okay, but I went a little too far. Let's try it again. I think that's a bit better. So people suggested in my original video that I rotate the terminal and crimp it again to flatten out those ears. But I found that it makes the crimp kind of lopsided if you do that, so I try to avoid that when possible. But that's a pretty good crimp there. That'll be just fine. Alright folks, I'm in a time crunch, so we're going to have to move through this kind of quickly. I've got the cables made up. The grounds are 3/8 on one end, 1/2 inch on the other end, and the positives are 3/8 on both ends. On the batteries, we're going to use these pre-made jumpers that connect the batteries together. So that'll go like so, and then our battery cables we just made will hook up here. Then if you're not familiar with these larger Delco starters, it has an isolated field winding, so our ground cables are going to hook up directly to that big stud right there sticking out of the starter. It doesn't ground right to the engine block or to the frame rail like you might see on a smaller car. And then our positives are going to run to this disconnect switch. I'm not going to replace this cable here. It looks like it's in pretty good shape, and it's really short, so we wouldn't gain a whole lot there. Hold your breath. Alright guys, got the cables installed, everything's tightened up, tied up, loomed up, wrapped up. Looks pretty good. I've got to reinstall the oil filter. So sitting down there. Put a little piece of hose on the inside of that positive cable right there where it comes along the frame rail. And then kind of the same thing back there where the hold down bracket is, just so we don't get any rubbing. And we're not going to be able to use these studs on the top. It's going to be too tall when I go to install the cover, so we're just going to have to chop those off. And it'll work just fine the way it is. I kind of thought that might happen. I did the best I could down here. On the bottom side, this truck's just kind of a nightmare. It's been put together from pieces and parts of multiple different trucks, and all the hoses and wiring harnesses and things have been moved and rerouted and replaced, and all the original loom clamps are missing. Yeah, do the best that we can with what we've got. I think it'll work just fine. So they had a loom clamp to the back of the engine block where the cables run over top of the transmission. I did the same. And then there's a couple power steering hoses that run right through that same location, so I'll just try to keep them tied together so they can't rub holes in each other. I guess we better see if it'll start, or how well it'll start. Hopefully he hasn't burned up the starter, cranking it with those crappy old batteries. That's always a fun phone call to make. Hey, Mr. Customer, you just put $700 worth of batteries and cables on your truck, and it still won't start. Well, that was something. Let's try it again. There we go, folks. It does exist. I hate these stupid caps. They never fit right. Well, that was surprisingly easy. Yeehaw. Don't worry, they make a lot scarier popping noises when they're fully loaded. The wheel bearings inside the hub are lubricated by the oil in the axle tube, but when it's sitting still, the oil level is low enough that it won't just run out the axle tube. So to get the oil into the hub, we have to tip the axle. So we just pick up the opposite side, let the oil run out the axle tube and fill up that hub. Then we'll set it back down and we'll recheck the oil level in the axle. We'll probably have to top it off a little bit. Yeah, when it's running, it's not a problem because the oil sloshes around inside the axle housing and it runs out the ends of the axle tubes and constantly replenishes the oil level in the hubs. Alright, we got to adjust the brakes. So this style sock adjuster, you have to pop this little button out. And would you be surprised if I told you I have a special tool for that? And then it takes a 5/16 square. The spring brakes are released, so the brake chamber is retracted all the way. I'm just going to run it out until the brake shoes touch. And then we're going to go back a half turn. That's it, we're done. You can check your stroke if you want to, but should be pretty close. That'll work for me. Hello, Mr. Wasp. Are you thinking about building a little home in there? Guess as long as you don't bother me, I won't bother you. Alright, let's figure out what's going on with this overheating issue. I still think it's the shutters, so I'll try to show you. This truck has pneumatic or air-powered shutters on the front. It's kind of a cold weather thing, so in the wintertime it'll actually build up some heat. Anyway, I think the problem is, can you see it? Right there. When they hit the hood and shoved it back, they bent this frame of these shutters, and I think that's, well, it's keeping them from shutting all the way, and then I'm guessing it's going to keep that from opening all the way, so we need to bend that back. And I'm going to have to open the shutters. Stand by.
Those shutters.
Those shutters.
Shutters.
Those shutters.
Shutters.
There we go, folks. A little tweaking with a pair of ice grips and it's good to go. I'm basically a body man at this point. Okay, here, visitors.
Howdy, folks.
How was school, everyone?
Good. It was school.
Your silence is deafening.
Things were learned. Things were taught.
Well, sure enough. Right side taillight's completely dead. Sure looks bad to me. What do you say, pup? It's not hot. Alright, folks. Well, let's see what I've got in inventory. I don't know what this is. 1156 maybe? Let's see what these are. Looks like the ticket. Well, that won't work. That's a single filament. We need the dual filament. So I'll have to call and get one. Dang it, you think I would have these? I better order a box. Are we ready for some more belly aching? The parts situation has not improved since I started this video. So we got the bulbs, we're good there. I tried to restock on oil filters and it didn't go very well. So this guy here, 84502, super common spin-on filter for GMs. I normally stock 2 reds and 2 blues, so the red's are the cheap one and the blue is the premium filter. So I asked my parts man for 4, and after he was done laughing, he said I might have 3 reds. So I bought all of them that they had, and he did not know when or if they would get more. So yeah, that's fun. If you guys want a good laugh, try to buy some ATV tires. I bought the last 2 9x24s that were available in the country a couple weeks ago. What were we doing? Oh yeah. Let's fix this truck. Well, normally I would slather the socket with dielectric grease to prevent any kind of corrosion, but the comment section always goes bananas over this non-conductive part of the description. So to head that off, I'm going to switch over to this Pro Electric grease. It works basically the same as dielectric grease, but in a more comment-friendly package. Well, that'll do. That was actually kind of easy. This doesn't feel right. Did I mention there's also a grease shortage? I'm down to my last tube. Hope I can find more. Alright folks, I think we are done. I greased it, checked the tires, checked the lights, gave it a once over. It looks pretty good, leaking a lot of oil and transmission fluid. But you know, it's an old Mack, so what are you gonna do? There's the damage from when they ran into it last year and destroyed the radiator. I don't know, he's talking about possibly rebuilding the engine. He said it burns a lot of oil and it leaks an equal or greater amount of oil. So we'll see how that goes. Maybe this winter be a little project for us. These Macks are kind of weird. I believe they have dry sleeves. So we may actually do an out-of-frame overhaul on it if he is really serious about it. Well, the truck sat overnight. Let's see if it'll start. He told me it's been like over a year since it would start reliably. Good deal. Yeah, rough doesn't quite describe the ride. Doing pretty good. That's not normal. Yeah, something's wrong. I heated it up with the heat gun and it opened, but now it won't close. Alright, well, we need a new thermostat. Alright folks, all this whining about parts. Walked into the Mack dealership. They had 2 of these on the shelf. Ready to go. Can't complain about that. So there's a seal down inside here we gotta pop out. Which is easier said than done. What if we go all the way through with it? There we go. That's the ticket right there. Now you said there's a special tool for installing this so that you get it down to the right depth. I don't have that tool, but I do have an 1 7/8" socket. I think that'll work. That pretty well nails the coffin shut. It's supposed to be a 185-degree thermostat. It's not even trying to open. Do I dare test the new one? We better try. Still nothing. Okay, we got opening on the new one. No opening on the old one. No, now it's open. I don't know what to conclude from that. Who knows? Alright, the little vent hole has to go towards the top. There's a couple of O-rings on the back side of this coolant filter housing, and I did replace those too. Like I said, I think somebody's just done this thermostat, probably for the same reason. I don't know, based on how it worked in the hot oil, I'm not sure we're going to improve things at all. Maybe that's just how these old Macks were. Never really paid attention, I guess. That can't be right. There's no way. That's more like it. Alright, we'll go for another ride. I think we got it fixed though. The shutters just weren't opening. Not at the right time. Alright folks, I think we got it. Holding pretty steady. We're good. Alright folks, that's it. If you didn't follow what happened, I just blocked off the air line to the shutters and disabled those. He doesn't need them, he never drives it in the winter anyway. Probably the thermostat that controls the air is broken. I inquired about replacements and the Mack dealership didn't even know what I was talking about. So we're just going to eliminate that. And it seems to regulate the temperature now. It stays within about a 10-degree range, so that's good enough. It's not hard to tell that a Mack was parked here. Alright lady, you want to help me film an outro?
Once again, I have no idea what the outro is going to be about.
Yeah.
Me, I do.
Alright folks, I'm kind of at a loss to explain what happened.
I want to do.
I blocked off the shutters. That seemed to help. But I don't think the shutters was the whole problem because well, my memory's hazy, but I ran the truck at idle here for what, 20 minutes or so, and it was getting super hot even with the shutters open, so I think it was a combination of both the thermostat and the shutters. Who knows? Alright, that's our outro.
Yay to part 2.
On a slightly more somber note, if I get this video out in time, this should be the 20th anniversary of 9/11.
Oh yeah. I was expecting something to be more exciting, and now I'm sad.
I was trying to remember where I was when that happened. So I can remember it exactly. I was in high school, junior in high school.
Yep. I was reading the Scarlet Letter.
I was walking into a computer lab because I had a class called Intro to Business.
I was walking into U.S. history.
And a kid who was probably the biggest stoner in our class said that a building or a plane had flown into a building in New York.
Yeah.
Of course, we didn't know. I didn't know what the World Trade Center was back then.
I didn't know either. I recognized him once they showed him because of the Spider-Man preview, and they had to completely edit out that scene from the movie.
Do you remember the gas stations? Everybody was lined up to get gas because
Yep.
they thought we were going to be at war.
I remember, I actually kind of had a flashback to that time last year because I remember looking up and it was a perfect day just like today, and there wasn't a single airplane streaking through the sky. And that happened again with COVID shutdown.
I remember I had a friend who legitimately needed gas in his truck, and he worked at a marina, so he opened up the marina and got a 2-wheel cart and a 5-gallon bucket, and he went went down the ramp with his bucket and got fuel from the pump for the boats. Filled up his truck 5 gallons at a time.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're waiting in a line for 2 hours, 3 hours to get gas.
Yeah.
That's all we got, guys. Thanks for watching. Stay safe.